Thank you very much, Karen. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, as Karen indicated, my name is Ted Chris. I am with the Affinity Consulting Group, and again, I will be taking you through our conversation on metadata cleaning, pardon me. So the first thing I like to go through is sort of that who, what, where, when, why scenario. So the first thing to keep in mind is who creates metadata, and the answer is everyone. Every employee at any organization that has a computer that clicks the save button is creating metadata. So, metadata exists anytime we save a particular document. So the most important thing to understand next is what is metadata. So metadata is embedded data. It is every program that saves a document has certain criteria that it must follow as part of its saving process. So now where it can exist in numerous areas. It can exist in descriptions. It can exist during data transferring. When your employees are browsing, it can sort of crop up there as well. So the risks are the disclosure of information that you wouldn't want someone externally to see. What's interesting is as we do training with firms, especially when it comes to document management, these systems do allow you to do versioning. And the reason I bring that up as an example is almost no organization on the planet wants their clients to see the fact that maybe it takes them 10 to 20 versions on certain documents. There is that sort of illusion that everyone creates the perfect document. So the reason why this is important to keep in mind is part of the metadata we're talking about could disclose whether there's numerous versions, or more importantly, that back and forth that might take place with certain individuals internally could be creating metadata that, again, we don't want to share with our clients. So the next thing to talk about is where is metadata found? So metadata exists on documents, spreadsheets. I have spreadsheets twice, but essentially it can exist anywhere. Any document we're saving, whether it's a document, a spreadsheet, an email, a PowerPoint. If you all have any kind of workflow data, like a Visio will create metadata. So any program, just think about the fact that any document, when you click save, can create metadata. So the next thing we want to talk about is when is metadata created? And the reality is that it's well beyond us just saving a document. If you're creating a document and perhaps you're inserting, maybe you're inserting a spreadsheet or a reference from an article, things of that nature, inserting documents from external sources into a document will create metadata. If you're copying certain information in certain programs, it will create metadata. Again, it just depends on the software that you're using and what that program out of the box is programmed to do. So again, just things to keep in mind: saving, inserting, copying, pasting, all of these can create metadata. So some of the examples we're going to talk about today is, examples of where we can find metadata. So if, Word tends to be a huge aspect to how metadata is created, right? Word tends to be the program that most organizations use to create their documents. So when you create your document in Word, as you're adding comments, as you're adding tracking changes, depending upon what kind of text reference you're doing, whether it's small or it's hidden text. Sometimes people will actually color, we'll take like a black label and put it over top of text. Again, that's what we refer to as color covered text. Again, when you embed files, as I just was mentioning, if you bring in spreadsheets, if you bring in images, if you bring in document inserts, all of those, just by depending upon the programs you're using, can create metadata. So, we move on to, well, why should we be concerned about metadata? Well, because, again, if I'm going back and forth with people inside of my organization, and I'm making comments on certain documents, maybe talking about, facts specific to the case where, hey, I don't need this paragraph because of this situation in this particular case. Again, this is information that I certainly don't want to share externally. So the way that we can solve this is by deploying what we call, office level scrubbing software. So at the end of the day, people call them metadata cleaners. And what these do is these, depending upon how you set them up, will look for certain types of information and automatically build in a process that prompts you to remove it as you're transmitting data. If you think about the complexity these days of creating your documents, making sure that in an email that you have the right people assigned to that email, you're making sure you're providing them with the right documentation. Now we're thinking about like what formats are involved, and more importantly, now we're even jumping into the fact of, well, what data is contained in those documents I'm about to transmit. Chances are many people transmit metadata these days without even realizing that there is metadata. What's nice about the different metadata solutions that exist these days is that they can build metadata scrubbing as just part of your regular day process. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to move into our hands-on portion here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag over a new email here, and we're going to kind of get started. So I'm going to just show you that the program I'm going to be showing you today is Clean Docs by DocCorp. That's the one that we leverage here at our company. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here as our example is I'm going to come in and I'm going to attach some documents. And in doing so, what we're going to do is look inside of that document at some of those examples that I had referenced for you, so that we can see some of those examples of metadata and where they exist. Then we're also going to talk about why you would want to have a metadata scrubber and what that metadata scrubber can do for you. So I'm just going to come in here to this particular merge document, and I'm going to attach it just as an attachment. So once this document is attached to my email, we're going to open it up here and we're going to take a look at it. So inside of this particular document, I've purposely embedded metadata inside of it so that you all can kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. So what you'll see is I have in this example, this particular document, I have basically started to add in some additional comments inside of here. As I scroll down here, I've also embedded a particular spreadsheet. I've also, again, been making some additional references inside of here. There's some exclusions on paragraphs in here. These are the type of things that we would not want to show someone externally. And the reality is you're working on so many documents throughout the day. A lot of people that use track changes and comments, this is part of their regular flow. But there are so many steps these days in doing our jobs that forgetting to scrub the metadata is something that is absolutely possible. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about how this metadata cleaner can assist us. So I'm just going to close out of my document here. And so we have our document attached here. I'm also going to come in here one more time, and we're just going to attach some additional documents just so we can see how it'll handle some additional information. So I'm just going to come in here. Let's just say I'm going to add in my test budget. I'll add in another document right here, another Word document, and we'll insert those into our email here. And we're going to let our metadata scrubber help us out. So the first thing I want to show you is these metadata scrubbers, this one in particular, it does a couple different things. So the first thing is that I can start to send my email to someone that sits internally. I can start to basically send my email to someone that sits externally as well. And what our metadata scrubber will do is it's going to look at our attachments, and it's going to give us various options that we can basically use to clean or adjust our data. So the first thing I want to show you within Clean Docs, what it will do is that it gives you the ability to deploy policies. And what you'll see is right now my default policy is set to collaborate. And what collaborate tells us is that basically it will alert you if you have track changes or comments, that those are found. And basically it will give you the option of what we're going to do when we're using this particular policy. You'll see that it sees all three of my documents, and I have the ability to just straight clean these documents. What is also really nice is I have this clean and convert to PDF. I don't have to do it to all of them. In fact, obviously I can't convert them. I can convert my Excel spreadsheet to a PDF if necessary, or I could choose to skip it. Just depends at what who I'm corresponding with. So again, our three main options are clean, and create to PDF, or skip. Now, before we do anything, the first thing I want to do is show you that we have different policies that exist. I'm on Collaborate, but you'll also see that there is a published policy. So what a published policy means is it automatically, by default, controls what settings are set. So publish will automatically clean and basically convert to PDF, any documents we have attached. But in addition to our collaboration and our published policies, we also have some additional policies. So we have our locked policy. What locked policy will do is it will literally lock out our skip option. So it requires the user to basically perform either a clean or a clean in PDF function. That is followed by our ignore items. So depending upon what documents you have attached, what you'll see is that on Excel documents, it will not do any cleaning. Same thing with our PowerPoint. We can set controls by attached document types so that the metadata cleaner program will not only react differently to those documents, but also control what options are available for those documents. So moving on from there, we have secure PDFs. So when we send secure PDFs, you'll see it automatically will clean and PDF them, but it will also password protect them, and it'll allow you to secure your transmission with a particular password. And finally, we have autonomize our changes. And so what autonomous our changes and our comments will allow those to remain in the document, but it will go ahead and remove the author or the date that our particular document attachments have on them. So again, what is nice about when you deploy these products is that you have these different policies that that your organization has the ability to set up and deploy. And again, by you deploying these out to all of the workstations, you can set up and deploy the individual policies that you need people to follow. In that way, this ensures that everyone at your organization is essentially on the same page, using the same policies that you require, maybe for compliance in your particular industry. So what we can do first is we're going to move on, but before we actually move on to our process and analyzing, I just want to come over here to my my output options for a minute, and I just want you to see that not only can we as we're converting our documents, can we convert to a PDF, but we can designate that it needs to be a PDF or secured PDF. Again, as I was mentioning before, we have the ability to set passwords on our documents if necessary. And more importantly, you can also control what, if we're securing a document, what the recipient can do in certain capacities with documents. So again, it's not just a straight, metadata cleaner. It also serves to clean the data that is tied to the documents. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to go ahead and we're going to analyze our particular documents. what you have the ability to do is see the report, basically analyze, create a report, actually save and basically open up a report and see what our metadata has found. So I'm going to just drag this over here for us. And what you'll see is that for each document that we have attached, it is going to show you, depending upon what your policies are set up to be, the system, you can set those on very specific detail. So you can set it for what it's going to do to thumbnails, bookmarks, different contents, different IDs, all your document variables, embedded text, field codes, hidden text, objects. So you can, when you set this system up, or we assist people with setting the system up, we go through these policies with them so that they're setting it up, setting up the policies specific to the document types to ensure that they're in compliance. But again, what is nice is that these programs will tell you what actions might be needed. If there's any, what statistics are found, what options it requires based on the policy we're about to deploy. But in addition to performing these functions for you, it will also help you when it comes to recipients in the process of transmitting. So I've gone ahead and hit process here. So what it's in the process of doing is cleaning our document for us. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and hit send. I'm just going to skip my subject here. And the next thing that we basically see here is we see warnings about recipients. So what you'll see is for each recipient that I've basically added to my particular email, it has flagged it. It knows how to interpret the different email addresses. And so what you'll see here is that on this particular address, it sees that it's a public email provider. This other email address, it looks like it's flagged it as an external recipient. You'll see that it's already automatically accepted our internal recipient. So the reason why this is important is that, again, this is just a check and balance for you. So it allows you to look at your recipients, first of all, confirming a second time, are these correct? Are these the people that you want to send it to? For example, this might not be someone I want to send to. I might want to just send it to this external address here. And in doing so, what this will allow you to do is it will allow you to start up a policy of who you're basically going to be transmitting to. For giggles, I'm literally just going to confirm all of my recipients here so we can just go ahead and move forward. But what I want you to know is that the reason this is also important is that as you start to confirm your recipients, you will start to clear them in your process. So if I confirm these addresses, this will not pop up again. I will have confirmed them. CleanDocs will know these are acceptable recipients. And so this process of cleaning and who's authorized will already be saved and recorded for you. So now we're just simply going to process and send. And from here, it's simply just a regular email. So, the takeaways of the reason I was showing you what I've shown you is that everyone has metadata. But more importantly, it is how organizations deploy metadata scrubbers and the policies that they put in place that are critical. Again, these policies will ensure that every one of your employees are operating within the same regarding metadata. And so really it does help you with compliance related issues because you are deploying this solution that again is helping to ensure continuity across your firm or organization, pardon me, that metadata is being scrubbed. So that is basically what I had to go over with you today. I didn't have a whole lot of time to dive deeper. I just really wanted to expose you all to the idea of metadata, what it is, and the solutions that are available for you all to deploy to deal with it. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to turn this over to Karen to sort of close us out for the day.
Great. Thank you, Ted. Such important information. Thanks so much for sharing it with us today. Great job. And thanks to all of you for attending. If you were intrigued by Ted's presentation this afternoon and want to learn more about metadata cleaning or have any other document management questions, I encourage you to take advantage of our free 30-minute DMS consultation. This is your chance to speak with one of the DMS experts at Affinity and get those nagging questions answered. Just reply to the follow-up email I'm about to send and I'll do the rest. We do have more DMS focused sessions coming soon. Our next one is on July 23rd, when we'll be talking about comparing documents with your DMS. And on July 29th, we'll be sharing security tips. You can find information about all of our upcoming DMS sessions by jumping onto affinityconsulting.com/webinars. Please do share your feedback with us on the survey that follows. And I hope you'll join us again soon. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Take care.